Welcome back. I'm Betsy Bosley, the dietitian for the Pathway to Health and Wellness program. Today we're going to talk about fiber. Fiber is one of my favorite nutrients because it's so good for our bodies. It helps prevent diseases like cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and diseases of the GI tract. It also prevents us from gaining a lot of weight because things that are high in fiber tend to fill us up without a lot of calories from sugars and from fats. Let's start by talking about some foods that you may pick up because they're convenient, but that will not fill you up and probably give you a lot of calories and fat. This taco right here is your standard hard shell taco. That's going to give you about 10 grams of fat and over 300 milligrams of salt. I was surprised to see that this taco right here actually has 500 milligrams of salt, so even more than this taco, and it's about 10 grams of fat total as well. Most people will not eat just one taco. They'll probably have at least 2 or 3. So total, this would give us almost 1,000 milligrams of salt. This one would give us about 1,500, which is your recommended daily amount. And obviously they would both give you a lot of fat. And since they're mostly full of meat and cheese, they're going to give you a lot of fat and calories, but without that fiber that's really going to fill you up and satisfy you. The next food item I'd like to talk about is this medium Aloha pineapple smoothie, and it's just from a smoothie making restaurant chain. And this smoothie has some fruit juice in it, but it doesn't really have a lot of fiber. It's got about 3 grams of fiber for the whole thing, but it has 96 grams of carbohydrate, and 90 of those grams are sugar. It also is 410 calories. So if I drank something like this, it probably wouldn't really fill me up. I'd probably want to have something after it, but it's going to provide a lot of extra calories and little to no fiber that would be so good for my health. Today we'll make our versions of these, but we'll make them way healthier and I think much more delicious. We have our lentil tacos, which have a lot of fiber in the lentils and the vegetables that we're going to put on top. And then we're going to make a tropical pineapple spinach smoothie. Let's get started. The first thing I would do to make lentil tacos is to spray my pan. I've just got some canola oil spray. And then I'm going to add a little bit of garlic. And then some onion. This is half an onion right here. You can add more or less depending on what you like. And I'm just going to move around, stir a bit. And you want to kind of caramelize these. So just brown them a little bit, soften them. And while that's going on, I will show you. So the spices that you want to add to make this, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of oregano and 2 teaspoons of cumin and 1 tablespoon of chili powder. And I think that makes it the perfect spicy level. You might want to add more or less spice depending on how spicy you like your food, so you can definitely experiment with that. All right, and then the next ingredient we're going to add to our soup is just our low sodium vegetable broth. And so we're going to add 2.5 cups. So we'll measure out. And if you don't use your whole box of broth like I'm doing today, most boxes have about 4 cups of broth, and so we're only using 2.5. You can actually freeze the rest of the broth for later, and that way you don't waste any. And it keeps in the fridge for about a week, but depending on how soon you might use it again, freezing works pretty well. So we're just going to add that. And the next ingredient we're going to add are lentils. And I'll just show you what the lentils look like once we pour it into the cup. Lentils are these kind of flat disc-shaped beans, and you can get them in multiple colors. The ones I'm doing today are green. I've also seen kind of salmon-colored ones, and there's brown ones. I really like cooking with lentils because they cook up so quickly. Unlike other dried beans, which might take a few hours to a whole day to really soften because they're so big, lentils cook up in about 30 minutes because they're so small and flat. So we're going to cook these lentils for about 30 minutes and we'll bring them to a boil and then we'll cover them and turn down the heat to just a low simmer, and that should completely soften the lentils and they're ready to go. While we're doing this, we'll move on to making our smoothie. The first ingredient that we need to make our smoothie is our frozen pineapple chunks. I chose the frozen kind because it tends to be a little more convenient and it also has no sugar added to it. And you could use whatever fruit you like. I just like pineapple. So I'm going to measure out 3/4 of a cup of this. So we're just going to pour it into our cup. And the thing I like about this immersion blender cup that I got is it has measuring lines on the side. So that's really nice. So you don't have to get another cup dirty. And so that's about 3/4 of a cup. The next ingredient we're going to add is just some spinach. And we'll just put about 3/4 of a cup in here as well. Can kind of pack it down. And it's going to definitely blend down to a lot smaller volume. And we have a 1/2 cup of Greek yogurt. This is just plain Greek yogurt. So that's going to definitely add some healthy protein without a lot of fat. And then since there's not really any sugar in that, we'll add the vanilla again to kind of give it that sweet flavor. And it calls for about a 1/2 teaspoon. So we're just going to kind of eyeball it. Now we're going to get the banana, and just for a single serving, it's about a 1/2 banana. So just going to half it. And it looks like the banana got a little bruised, but that's okay. We'll just kind of pack it down. Now we're going to add 1 tablespoon of flaxseed, and this is just going to add some heart-healthy fat and some fiber. So if you compare this to the Jamba Juice smoothie, you look at how much more fiber is in this. We've got lots of fiber in the spinach and the flaxseed, and we're actually using real fruit, and a lot of these companies actually just use fruit juice, so you don't get a lot of that pulp. And so now we're going to use our handy dandy immersion blender and just kind of blend everything up. Ooh. Okay, so it looks like it's all done. And I might lick that later because it looks good. And we can just kind of make sure we get all the flaxseed. Okay, we'll pour it into our glass. Okay, now you've got a delicious high fiber smoothie that's a great start to your day. Good. All right, so it looks like our taco mixture is pretty much done now. It smells really good and doesn't really have any more liquid, which is kind of how you know when it's done. So I'm just going to take it off the burner. So before we top our tacos, we're going to add 1 cup of low sodium salsa to the lentil mixture. And you can use mild, you can use hot, you can use homemade, whatever you like. This is just to add a little bit extra flavor, even though there's already a lot of flavor in the chili powder and the cumin and the oregano that we added. So I've been referring to this recipe the whole time as lentil tacos. I'm actually using tostada shells this time. And I just like tostadas because they're nice and flat. So they just are easy and not too messy. And so we'll top our tostada with the lentils. So just put a little bit on. So you can put these lentils on top of a burrito or a potato or whatever you want, or just have it on its own, kind of like a chili. And now we have our tostada. So we are going to take a little bit of that extra sharp cheddar cheese. And again, I really like using the extra sharp because I feel like I don't need to use as much and it still tastes really good. So that's probably a lot less than would be at your restaurant. So still giving us a good cheesy flavor. And then I've got some tomatoes and just to make it look really pretty and taste extra good. And then just some more vegetables. We got some spinach leaves, and then a little bit of avocado. So, oops. And the avocado also has a lot of fiber. A lot of people are surprised to learn that, but it's pretty high in fiber. That's why sometimes you see these fibrous little structures in it. So it's very filling as well as giving us lots of heart-healthy fat. And so as far as calories, this is probably going to run around where those fast food tacos were, but it's going to be a lot more filling because of the things that we added to it. And that's the general point for these sessions. It's really important to fill up on fiber so we don't fill up on high-calorie things like fat and sugar. And for this recipe, and for all of our other recipes in these sessions, you can go to the Pathway to Health and Wellness website. Thank you.